I request all the eminent panelists to please finish your address in 5 minutes so that we can again back on the time. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
I didn't know that I'm going to be the one who's going to moderate this session. It's a surprise and a pleasant one, because with the dignitaries on this stage, it's my honor to welcome them here and ask them to come and share with us all that they are able to do and that all we can learn from about creating global competitiveness and having a deep impact on the higher education, especially the research area, which we think and all agree in that as India as a nation, we are far lagging behind. If we have to become anywhere successful in industry, in economy, in education, and especially the vision of our great Prime Minister and then the theme of the day, that we want India to be a Vishwa Guru, then I think the need of the hour is to invest, to calibrate, to work upon, to innovate and create models, systems and frameworks whereby we can impact the higher education. I basically come from a deeply spiritual background. I move around the country and the world outside with Bhagavad Gita in my hand and giving talks on that. And there is a community of spiritual seekers that I belong to, which is called the Last Center. And for me, education is naturally thereby very close to my heart. We are engaged in various other activities also, but I think it's being a World Education Summit, I'll talk specifically only about education. Before I ask all the panelists, the great dignitaries over here on the stage to come up and share their ideas, I will say that in 2, 3, 5, 4 minutes, I won't take much long, because anyway, the program is delayed, highly delayed. So, for me as a spiritual seeker, what is constantly being in my thought is, what is this source of creativity? What is this intelligence? What is this within us which makes us take new leaps, which brings transformative and breakthrough solutions? Because what we are facing in the 21st century is a crisis of enormous proportions. With the level of unskilled labor that we have in India, only 2% of Indians are skilled. And compared to that with the Scandinavian countries, where it is more than 75%, we are way behind, way behind. And on top of that, talking about higher education and especially the research, which is the need of the hour, because we need creative, localized, transformative solutions which cannot be substituted anyway, because those solutions which we have already created and imported from the developed countries, I think may not be able to work for us in India, and we have to create local solutions for local problems that we have at hand in India. And what I have always confronted with as my journey through spiritual process is this immense fountainhead of creativity that we all have within us. For me, it's always a curious point to look at. Look at the advent of religion and then the advent of science following it. Religion came first, and which was followed by then the sciences and technology. Pythagoras was a spiritual seeker. Leonardo da Vinci, arguably the greatest genius of all time, was a deeply meditative, spiritual man who will sit in the lap of nature and will create and seek inspiration from there. What does it take to create genius and mastery? How could an Einstein sitting in a patent office as a clerk could imagine how the universe functions? There is something about it. Something about these mediocre people or unknown people lost in the crowd, and they could create masterful solutions or masterful designs or have great insights about how the universe functions. That has always been a very area of curiosity for me, and that's what I work in, day out. At Echelon, the institute that the institute that I represent, we are here committed to pioneer the experiential engineering education. An education which is living in experience. An education which I can go along and visualize, experience in my day-to-day life. I'm an engineer. I graduated from IIT Delhi, and I was supposed to be one of the great talents in this country. But in my personal experience, what I realized was I was no good when the practical life I confronted. I was an engineer, and one fine day I was driving my scooter and it just broke down. And I left that back at my house, and my father confronted me because I have taken away his car and drove it to the institute. And he inquired, and he was very surprised to know that my scooter has broken down and I have just stolen his car. And he was puzzled. I mean, you're supposed to be an engineer, and you can work out what went wrong with the scooter. And next one day, he made it sure. He asked me to do one thing. He said, go down the street and there is an uneducated man sitting over there, a mechanic. Why don't you show your scooter to him? And I just, because his pressure was there, which I never wanted to do, but I had to do that. So I went there, took the scooter to him, and just opened it up. That guy simply did nothing. He just took the spark plug out, gave it a great rinse. I mean, sandpaper, so ragda, and put it back and kick mara, and then it was all started. My father asked me one thing else. He said, your education, what good it is. You're supposed to be one of the bright people in this country, coming from the premier institute. I mean, you rank among the students we can take pride in. That left a thought in me. I mean, how good is the education that I've got? Is it all intellectual? Is it all prepared for the examination? Is it all about degree, or is it something more than that? And that follows the question, I mean, what are these geniuses made of? What about Einstein? What about Da Vinci? What about Nikola Tesla? You could imagine. What about Steve Jobs, say, in the industry? And in the great inventions in life, or the human civilization, be it fire or the invention of a wheel, one thing I have empirically thought about is this, and this is my own theory. Scientists do collaborate that. The more we know about ourselves within, the more I'm able to know more about the nature itself. The more the human civilization has evolved and known about its own history, the more the scientific breakthroughs have come. Down the millennia, the more we have known through history, anthropology, archaeology, the more we have discovered ourselves within through spirit, through religion, through various processes, say in psychology, the more we have invented that much dramatically fast in the world outside, in the physical sciences also. The great leap that happened, whereby this scientific breakthrough has happened, there's one thing that scientists call it. They call it self-reflective consciousness. If you look at the animals around, dolphins, chimpanzees are one of the most intelligent animals around. And scientists say one thing, these animals have what they call a compassionate understanding of the life around. They are able to know the thoughts and the emotions their fellow animals are going through. They cite one example. I'll take only 30-40 more seconds and then I'll wind up and I'll ask the panelists to come and share their thoughts. There is something curious about chimpanzees. In the African jungle, the bigger monkeys and chimpanzees, they hunt these smaller ones on the trees. And what scientists have discovered is that they are able to find out which is the weakest one. And then they strategize. They distract their attention. They let them know that they are not the target. They target A and then they plan it out in such a way that they will move from a branch to the next branch to the next branch of the tree and suddenly somersault, change their track and hit his target. Scientists say that monkey or that chimpanzee was able to read the emotions of the vulnerable one. He knew beforehand that this monkey is totally unguarded. He's not watchful. He's not cautious. This intelligence of reading the thoughts or emotions of somebody else is what Buddha would have called the compassion. The more I know about myself, the more I am able to know about others. This self-reflective consciousness is the key to creative intelligence, to create anything which is higher, which is knowing more about the design, the way the universe works. A Newton sitting in the park, an apple falling on his head. Gravity was always there. But what happened to him was a perspective shift. For the first time he would see, oh, there is something else happening. There is something called gravity which is bringing the apple down and nothing else. The gravity was always there. But it was the shift in the perspective. It was the shift in the understanding of one man which created gravity that day. So, we'll talk about, I'll ask the panelists to come over here about the different frameworks, about the way it goes, the modern systems that we can create to deepen the higher education learning. But for me as a spiritual seeker, what I have always found interesting is that the more I know about myself within, the more I am able to know the world outside. They go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. Yeah? So, technology, the great transformative agent for the culture around, for the society around, goes hand in hand with the spirit within. Yeah? But this little preamble and little background of who I am